Hey everybody, welcome to our first and glorious episode. I'm your host, Brendan, and with us, as you'll get to know, brand new starting with us at Better Sports. Introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Nolan. Super excited about just talking NBA, which is a passion of mine, a hobby, and just a fandom that I've had since I was a kid. And looking forward to chatting NBA, the best and the worst.
And for those that look at me and with swing batter and other elements of Batter Sports, why did we come up with Batter Sports? Well, folks, I'm a Suns fan. I've been a Suns fan for as long as I can remember moving into Phoenix. The Madhouse at McDowell was the arena that I watched the Suns before they moved to now where they play, which used to be America West Arena, and now it's whatever it is now. So I am a bitter NBA fan. I have watched us never win. I have watched us get so close. I have hated teams. Houston, the Spurs, the Lakers, just being the Lakers, even beating Kobe when we were better than them because it was 7 games because it was Kobe, was just brutal. So growing up as a Phoenix fan and now getting to watch what I am watching now, I will hardly say it's a treat. It's just a disappointment. No one is happy here in Phoenix. No one even pretends to be happy in Phoenix about the team. They're just bad.
Did you at least have some false hope though? Like a few years ago, was there a time where you started to believe okay, this is where we're gonna do it?
So many times when they had Chris Paul and Booker and they made the run and they were good and they were beating teams and we got to the finals and we were up 2-0. I, in my wisdom, took one of my boyhood friends and we went to the game 5, 2-2. This is the game. We want to remember this game. And we do. We remember the game. They came all the way back. They lost the foul, the dunk. Game 6, same story. It's over. No championship. No runner-up parade. Not like the Barkley era when we lost to Jordan, and we still had a parade because we got second place to Jordan, which is like winning the championship, apparently. But
I'm a Knicks fan, so that's second place to Jordan. I have to hang my hat on something.
Did you have a parade? We had a parade.
We never had a parade. No.
Yeah, we had a parade. We were like, hey, we're Phoenix. We're second place. Because we always knew we were second place to L.A. Everybody who had lived in Phoenix went to L.A. If you wanted to have fun, you went to L.A. Now, it's a little different. L.A.'s changed quite a bit. You may go to L.A. and get stabbed or something, so it's a little different. So people in Phoenix don't necessarily go to L.A. as much as they used to.
But the Lakers are still the baby of the NBA, so...
We don't even have a banner. We have no banners.
Well, I asked because I echo your sentiments as a Knicks fan. As the Celtics announce team called us, endless years of loserdom or something like that recently. That's what the experience has been for me too. Just a lot of pain, a lot of coming up short. In my lifetime, I've seen 2 NBA Finals failed attempts, but now I guess I'm in that, there might be a chance phase. Whereas if we record this podcast in 2 or 3 years, I might be where you are now. I'm nope, it's never gonna happen.
No, you have a good team. They play really, really well. You have a nice balance. You lived through the Isaiah Thomas years.
Oof. I lived through the Scott Layden years. I lived through the Isaiah Thomas years. I lived through the Phil Jackson years.
You did have
Phil Jackson. Oh, I want to forget that the most. I think Isaiah had some good moves. He was just allowed too much freedom. But Phil Jackson, man, that guy, he was a train wreck.
And you won't hear that anywhere else.
No.
There's no the Bulls don't say that. The Lakers don't say that.
No, come to the Knicks and ruin your career, ruin your legacy.
Unbelievable. When is the last? Oh, you actually have banners. When was do you remember any of the banners?
Champion NBA championship banners. No, I wasn't alive. The last NBA championship was 1973. So, I was not alive yet. But
I think it's wild that Boston has done so well in the NBA realm and sports altogether. Boston, hats off. Baseball, they broke the curse. They did everything with basketball, football. Again, Boston has had a great sports era while I've been alive.
Yeah.
Especially in the era of like, I really care about sports.
Yeah. Eric is reminding us that the Suns and Knicks both had D'Antoni. Which really, for both
I
of us,
loved him.
It wasn't even the worst. It was just the wrong timing for us.
No, it was the right timing for us. We just ran across the Spurs.
Yeah.
And Pop. Pop.
But it's interesting you bring up the Spurs and the Celtics because, the Lakers are always in the conversation because there's always stealing people's superstars. They're always somehow getting other people's superstars. But the Spurs and the Celtics, they always seem to have only 2 or 3 down years where they're refreshing the roster and they're drafting so well and they get, lucky in the draft and then they're right back to contendership again.
How much did you hate that they got Wemby?
I honestly, I have flashbacks of when they got Duncan.
It was the worst.
Yeah. Because
I literally, because again, as a Suns fan, I'm like,
yeah,
here we have these aged people who are ready. And I'm like, and they're not playing well together. So when they're done, then the Spurs will be great for the next 10 years. And what will the Suns be without any draft picks? Terrible.
The only reason they got Duncan was because Robinson got hurt.
Yep.
And they tanked. And they ended up getting a generational talent. And it shouldn't be that way. But it is.
But there are teams that are worse off than our two teams. I mean, we've had tremendous success and fun.
Yeah.
There are fandoms that I feel bad for, like the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah. They came close in the early 2000s.
That's one of the best games to watch. I think it's game 6 where the foul differential was incredible.
Yes.
Just incredible.
I really enjoyed those Kings teams actually with Weber and Stojakovic. Yep.
They were good. The Kings are tough fans. They've had a tough go of it. Especially
Charlotte.
Now, the fact that their point guard was like, I'm not signing with you, so trade me to the Spurs.
Yeah.
And so they all negotiated this. So now he's on the Spurs with Wemby, and I'm sitting back going, yeah, because that's how free agency should be.
Yeah.
That's
not even. They don't even wait till free agency anymore. It's crazy.
No,
they're like,
hey, Google and Apple should do this with their IT guys. Hey, I've met your guy Frank down there. He's one of the best coders ever. We're gonna steal him. I want to work with him on this new app we're developing, this new software product we're developing.
Let him out of his contract now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. He wants out. He's not showing up anymore.
Right.
He's not even working from home.
Oh my gosh.
He's using that mouse tracker device that he bought. He's not even clicking on. He's using the mouse tracker.
It's crazy.
Who am I kidding? Frank works for both companies, and they don't even know it because Frank works 16 hours a day.
He's got nothing else to do, so.
And he loves to be in front of his computer.
That's
what they should do. That's what we should do in the NBA. You should just let these players play for multiple teams.
Yes, that's a good idea. How about you play for a team, and if they don't make the playoffs, you get to play in the playoffs with another team.
Whoever you want, like your best friend.
Yes.
Get rid of these low-end salary guys you never see anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, why are you robbing us of talent?
You go back to your team that drafted you, the homegrown team, and you try to make another run for it the next year.
And if you use one of our players, I get a partial banner.
I get
one of those banners that's multicolored. Like, thank you. You took Durant and won a championship, but we get Durant back, and we also participated in the championship.
Yeah. That's what we need in the NBA is something else to encourage fair weather fandom. That's one thing as an NBA fan. In more than any other sport, there are people who don't follow a team. They just pick a player to root for and root for whatever team they're on. And that's always killed me as a fan.
I think that's been a hardship for because I've been such a loyal person. But I will say there are a couple players that I just they're a player-face league. It's just the way they are.
It is.
There's a couple players, and I'm sure you have players on the Knicks that left that you still followed. Like for me, a couple people that I just loved, and I was very happy for them. Sean Marion.
Mm-hmm.
I love Sean Marion when he won the championship with the Dallas Mavericks. I couldn't be happier for him.
Yeah.
I loved Amare. I loved watching his career, even though with the injuries and things like that. But I still he just was amazing. Getting him out of high school was awesome.
Won MVP half season with the Knicks.
There you go. He was amazing. And Steve Nash. I couldn't root for a better person than Steve Nash.
Although that would have killed you if he won with the Lakers, though. No?
Nope. I actually accepted the fact he wasn't going to win with the Suns, and I was like, I hope he wins with the Lakers, and he didn't, of course.
Wow, good for you.
But I was like, watching him get so beat up.
Yeah.
No one ever was like, man, he didn't try.
No.
Nobody ever said. I've never seen a player like there was a game. Remember, he couldn't be put back in because he was bleeding too much.
Yeah.
They literally put everything. They didn't have a boxer or a trainer. Like a boxing corner would have had it fixed up in no time.
Yeah.
But we had nothing of that.
No.
And no one was ever. I mean, he was just gushing, and they're like, "You can't play." And he's like, "Yeah, I can. I just wipe it."
Yeah.
It's just gushing blood.
Give him some wax or something. Let him.
They could put everything. They had not prepared at all. They're like, "Whoa, no one would ever punch Steve Nash in the face." Oh, we're playing the Spurs. Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. Because they're such a good team. Because Tim Duncan was the face, and Coach Pop, he's such a smart coach.
Oh, don't get me started on Coach Pop.
The best.
Oh,
talk about playing the game. Him and Phil, aren't they going to be a monument to those two guys? Because I swear to God, he wants to win another one with Wemby when he's like 90.
Yeah, no, and they have a good shot because
doesn't he just look like he has that old person smell at the office when you walk by him? You're like, oh,
absolutely.
You have like rotting teeth or like something's wrong. You ate fish like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and he definitely is not one to not think his what don't stink. So
he's amazing, but yet he's never left the Spurs to go improve an organization like Utah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's got a cushy gig. I mean, San Antonio is a small market, and yet they have, like, the success of a large market team.
We're going to talk about coaching gigs. The coaching gigs everywhere are out of control. But in the NBA particularly, I believe, and this may not be true or not, the amount of coaching that all the people wearing the same gear on the bench may mimic the amount of players you have on a team. There may be a coach for every player on that bench. Whenever I see the coaches get together, I'm like, hey, there's 15 of those guys. And there's our players. There's 15 of those guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't think basketball needed that many coaches.
No, but they do. They have like insane teams. They have like multiple trainers and multiple like video guys and and they're making up new titles like as time goes on.
For what? What are these?
Analytics.
Okay, so we're getting close to the NCAA tournament. Everyone loves it. Everyone gambles on it. We all enjoy it. So when I watch the NCAAs, they have to play because a lot of these kids can't shoot very well, but you got to play team ball.
Right.
And they're giving it their all. When I watch the NBA, the effort, if you just coached effort, I think you would win an extra 15, 20 games. Isn't that what's happening with Houston? They're just efforting more than other teams?
Yeah, I mean, there's a point to that. I mean, so any team in the NBA, even despite the fact that there's so much parity, despite the fact that there are very clear tiers of contenders and non-contenders, you still have situations where very bad teams beat very good teams. And most likely they're on nights where, like you said, they just out-efforted them. Maybe it helps that somebody has a hot shooting hand that night. But yeah, I mean, I think honestly that's what the Knicks' success was last year. Now they obviously they didn't get as far as they should have because of injuries, but they surprised a lot of people because I think they out-hustled a lot of people.
And I the coach of the Knicks, by the way, I think was one of those coaches like the Houston coach who used to be with the Boston coach, and then the whole scandal happened. Then he left and went to Houston. Those coaches want effort and play you if you're bringing effort.
That's
The
right.
Suns do not, because we don't have any players who do effort, and the guys that are making the most money are not giving the most effort. It's kind of like the thing you did in high school, like the guy who scores the most, you just kind of let him get A's.
Right.
I feel like that's what the NBA kind of is. Like, oh, don't talk to him. He's the A+ guy. Like, he doesn't have to do homework. He can show up to practice late. He doesn't have to do the physical training. He just needs to show up because he's that great.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, with everyone shooting the three like they are, you're not wrong. Like, Boston has built their team around that. Shoot. And if you get hot, you can destroy a team. Your point guard reminds me a lot of Steve Nash. He shoots more. I think Steve Nash in this game would shoot a lot more than he did.
Definitely.
And he would probably have a lot more space to shoot more because the floor is much more space now.
Yes. Yeah. Steve Nash, I think, would thrive today. And but yet he's got some of that, like, those traditional point guard skills that a lot of guys don't anymore. That would make him stand out too.
So then that leads me to a question for you. Do you feel the assist, the passing game in the NBA? Because they count assists now really weird. You can throw the ball to somebody. It's almost like the NHL. I can throw it to the guy in the 3-point line. He can dribble twice and score, and I get an assist, which to me just wouldn't count back in the day. Like, an assist is what I'm used to with Steve Nash.
Right.
Dribble, pick and roll, pick and pop. It's kind of like what Luka does with the alley-oops or things like that. Like, that's what I'm used to. Now they give assist out for different things. The off-the-ball movement, I mean, again, I think that game just, I'm not seeing as much of it. I see a lot of standing in the background, step-back threes, a lot of step-back threes.
But to that point, though, I think for me, when I see teams that, like, are clicking and things are, that, like, to me, one of the traits of a good team is, like, ball movement, like a whole bunch of passes before, finding the right shot. Which is different from that, like, Suns era where it was like run and gun, like, get the ball quickly to somebody.
How many points do you think they would score today running like they were? Like, teams are scoring a lot of points. Like, would they average over 120?
Oh, I think so. I think they would probably be in the 110, 120 range most nights.
Do you remember the old Golden State teams that just ran?
You talking about Run TMC?
No, before that, the old teams that literally, when I was a child, they literally would lose. They'd score 120 and they lose 140 to 120.
Like Rick Barry?
When you played them, it was just like, hey, was it Don Nelson who coached them back in the day?
Don Nelson coached the Run TMC teams, I think.
But there was, like, no defense. It was just like, we're going to run and score.
Yeah.
And we're going to outscore you. And then every time you wanted to watch that game, there were a lot of dunks, fast breaks, no defense. But, like, you watched it, you were like, these guys were amazing. Everyone's stats went through the roof when they played.
And to bring it full circle here, the Knicks brought Don Nelson in to do that with the Knicks, and he didn't even last a half a year. Because, I mean, you have to play defense. Like, I mean, that's just a staple of New York basketball, and he did not want to do that.
So growing up a Knicks fan, when you played Jordan all those years,
mm-hmm.
Now I'm an outsider, so I did not. Everybody loved Jordan, who was a homer, right? Everybody, and the other thing is, I was in college during the Jordan era as well. So everyone overseas and traveling to college, everybody loved Jordan. So, like, I didn't like him because everyone loved him. Nobody could beat him. I cheered against him. But I remember watching the Knicks battle, and they just never got him. And they really wanted to. God, they talked a lot. They did all that. Some great pregame. Like, they did great at storytelling. Like, they would talk about what these players were prepared for, how they talked, how they didn't want to give Jordan anything. I mean, and they went out there and they were brutal to each other.
I mean, they literally hated them. Which is another thing you don't really see a lot these days. Like,
not at all.
It was like pure hatred. And man, they just, every year they came up short. And many years you look back and you say like the Knicks gave them the best chance of anybody. They lost to the Knicks. They beat the Knicks in 6 or 7, and then swept the NBA Finals, or like won the NBA Finals in 5 games. And
what was the series? I know it wasn't against Jordan. And I'm probably going to bring up a really terrible memory. The layup, the missed Ewing layup, where he was going to go dunk, and then he rolled it off the back rim.
Yeah, he should have jammed it.
One of the most brutal.
Pretty sure it was either the Eastern Conference Finals or second round against the Bulls one year. I mean, they ended up playing the Bulls every year, either in the conference finals or in the second round, and they just never had enough.
That's another guy that if you were to say, hey, who would you have cheered to get one, it would be Ewing.
For me, more than any other sport, more than any other athlete, Patrick Ewing deserved it. I mean, the Knicks, as painful as those memories are, like looking at it like subjectively, and again, maybe my homer is showing, but like they never lost in the first round. They always ended up losing to the Bulls. It was just always like them and the Bulls. It's crazy.
And then when Jordan was gone, didn't they have a series with the Heat where they had the big old fight and suspensions? We had suspensions too. You guys had suspensions, and then you lost to the
I think that was 96, and that was a really good team that is one of those big what ifs. But yeah, they had like 5 guys suspended for Game 6, and
Suns had the same thing with the Spurs.
Oh, brutal.
After they beat up Nash when we were ahead, and then a guy put his toe over the line, and the rules are the rules.
The rules are the rules.
Allegedly.
Except when like there's like phantom fouls and like flopping and.
Can you ever imagine like a series, like a baseball series or something? They're like, oh, hey, Ohtani can't play. He didn't do this one thing. Like, they took out some of the best Suns players because they put a toe on the line. You would think the commissioner would come in and say, listen, there's the intent and then there's the rule.
What about a bases clearing brawl in baseball? And they're like, all you guys are suspended. Like, what do? They bring up like the AAA team to just play as the major league team the next like 5 games or whatever.
It wouldn't happen in the playoffs. They would just say, we're going to address this in the next season.
Yeah.
Just like they do like the NHL's the same way. NHL has playoffs, and the guys are trying to beat the heck out of each other.
That's right.
And then the first game of the next year, they're like, hey, remember what you did in the playoffs? Now I get to do whatever I want, get suspended 10, 15 games. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lose in it. I'm trying to get the Stanley Cup. That's the part that's interesting about this Four Nations thing. The NHL, man, they hit gold with this thing.
Yeah, I know.
They made every other All-Star game look like they aren't even caring. Like this has made every sports fan go, I want this.
But I feel like it can only be done in hockey, though.
The fighting for sure. I agree with you on the fight. I never thought they would throw gloves.
But like
that was
just
crazy.
The passion in general. Maybe in baseball, I guess I could see it in baseball.
If you did the Four Nations in baseball, I think that works great.
It wouldn't work in basketball though. They would still.
You can do World versus America.
I don't. They've done it. They've done it before.
They just don't care.
They don't care.
But they are all friends. To your point, like there were people that really didn't like. Who is the nearest to Rodman? Is it Green for the Golden State Warriors, and everyone thinks he's crazy?
I mean, I think Draymond Green is overrated.
But he's not Rodman.
He's not Rodman.
Rodman was amazing. Rodman was crazy, but he was amazing.
He was, yeah. And I mean,
and the fact that
Draymond Green is an all-star, but I just think
he played on the Spurs and quit them because he didn't like those guys. That tells you a little bit about what he thought of them.
Yeah, that's true.
And if anything's true about Rodman, is he's honest.
He is. No, I mean, and he was perfect for the Bulls.
He's perfect for the Pistons.
He's perfect for the Pistons.
That guy had one of the best careers you could ever have.
He ended up on the Lakers at some point too, didn't he? Just like for a cup of coffee, because
I'm sure.
Because why not?
He was absolutely.
The Lakers are like the Yankees. They have to end up with somebody else's superstar at one point, even if it's just for fun.
They had Karl Malone on the way out.
They had Karl Malone. They had Gary Payton.
I was really happy Karl Malone didn't win a championship that year.
Oh, me too.
They had Gary Payton.
That was the first year the Pistons won, and
yes,
with
that was fantastic because
with
I was
team
like,
of
Karl
all
Malone's gonna get
really
a freaking
good players.
Because man, the Jazz Bulls series, those were heartbreaking for Jazz fans.
Yeah, that was rough.
Even watching The Last Dance and seeing what was happening, and then like even watch as a Suns fan, like I will tell you, okay, reliving the last minute of Game 6, the Suns were ahead. The Suns are ahead by 3 with the ball, with under a minute to go, and lost. They had a busted play, and some guy who wasn't Charles Barkley took the shot, missed it. Jordan rebounds, drives the length of the court, lays it in, down by 1. Now there's like 30 seconds. Again, the Suns get the ball, miss a shot. Then they come back. Paxson hits a 3. They're ahead by 2 or whatever.
Did that game go to
5?
that series?
We
go
don't
to
even
5?
get a. We don't even get a shot
6 games?
off. I have a 6-game series.
Yeah.
They came back to Phoenix and they beat us in Game 6.
Ugh.
And that last bit of Game 6, we were ahead. We had them. Like it almost like it was a rope-a-dope.
Yeah.
I was feeling so confident, and then it was all gone. It was all gone so fast. And it's like the only thing I could compare it to, because I'm a big hockey guy, would be like if you're ahead by a goal, they pull their goalie, they tie you, brutal, and then they score before the end of the third period. Like they win the game before the end, and then you're like, we were gonna win.
I've seen that happen to the Islanders like 15 times over the past 2 years, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
But to have it happen Game 6, and I still remember because I was like, I remember we're taking Jordan to Game 7.
Yeah.
I was in that mindset, and then it was gone, so I didn't even get mad.
Like in a blink of an eye.
It was just so fast.
Yeah.
And I still remember, like, when Jordan got the rebound, I'm like, someone get the ball.
Yeah.
Someone stop him from scoring. Nope, went right down, did what he wanted. And then everyone was like, we're fine, we're still out of the lead. I was like, no, that's when he knew it. Like, he just knows what to do when to do it. That was the same with Kobe.
Big what if for that time. What if Jordan doesn't leave and, and they play the Rockets 2 years in a row? Do the Rockets?
I don't think the Rockets win.
Even with Hakeem?
I don't think so, because the reason why I say that, and this is just my bias, and if you want to go to the list, we can go to the list. Jordan's not ever going to leave number 1 for me.
No, me neither.
I don't care what you. I've never seen a guy will everything to victory the way he did.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is he, with because they had Pippen and they were getting Kukoc. So, like, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Like they would put a center on him. They use up their fouls, and Elijah on defense. What is he going to do? He guards what? One of their centers who's not even useful,
or whoever they had at the time.
Yeah, they
Luke
play
Longley or something.
Yeah, and so Jordan gets to do what he wants. I mean, again, I've heard the talk, and you hear the podcast with these players with like Vernon Maxwell talks about how Jordan didn't want anything of him, and how he was Jordan struggled with shooters and stuff like that. Put him in a 7-game series. Who are you betting against? Who bets against Jordan?
You don't.
To find me I can tell you who did. No, I don't bet against Jordan in a Game 5. Or no, bet against him in Game 5 or 4. But Game 6, no, he wins everything in Game 6.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole episode or 2 or 3 on the GOAT conversation, but the short answer for me is it's always going to be MJ.
Yeah, I don't. Again, there's no saying what happens, but the fact that he stepped away, came back, and then did what he did, to me, it shows that they would have beat that team.
Right. Yeah.
They would have beat that team.
He would have found a way.
But again, you want to talk about another hated team? The Suns were up on Houston 3-1, I believe, twice, and blew both.
Ugh.
And you can correct me in the comments if it's just once, but I'm telling you, I remember it like it's 35 times probably.
Yeah.
Like you again, it's one thing to be ahead by 3 or 4 points in the last minute. It's another thing to be up 3-1 in a series when you love that team.
Yeah.
I loved KJ. I loved Barkley. Like you love those guys.
Thunder Dan Marley.
Dan could shoot from anywhere. He was beloved, had his little restaurant.
Yeah.
So like these guys were icons to Phoenix, and the fact that like we were ahead, and Sam Cassell, the alien, who's now a coach.
Yeah.
I was like, he was brought down on Earth from another planet to just break my heart.
Yeah. Played on like 50 teams.
And I know Kenny and Chuck always talk now that they have their little show, and they're great. but man, did I hate Houston.
Well, then a couple years later, you had Pippen and Barkley with Olajuwon on the Rockets,
and they didn't win.
No, they didn't.
That was the beginning of the superstars, but everybody was okay with it because it was the end of their life.
Right. It was
not like I'm 31 and I'm going to go play. If Barkley and Olajuwon and all those guys got together at 31.
Was Drexler still on the team at that point too?
Yes, he was.
It was like the dream team. Almost.
The dream team, the aged dream team, the goat cheese of dream teams, aged beautifully, like on fine wine. Just not. Who did they lose to? Utah beat them.
Yeah,
and it wasn't even close. Like Utah but Utah. If you want to talk about a team, that coach for Utah too,
Jerry Sloan.
He was so good. You had that team. Stockton had that team like a robot. Like if you were not on the right side of the right hip of Karl Malone, he knew it and he hit the pass and he already had you beat. That was 2 points. Thank you very much. He just knew your defender wasn't playing well.
Yeah.
That's the part to me about basketball that when I watched it back then was like Stockton just knew.
Mm-hmm.
He just knew where to place the ball. He knew what to look for.
Him and Malone were like on the same wavelength.
And it's just, and again, it just feels
they
very
were perfect for each other.
The games feel very all-starry now. They're very much like, there's not like, hey, I saw a weakness. This is what I want to do. I want to attack it. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the friendships and things like that. That's why, to me, it's like when I watched Jordan and when I watched Kobe, those are the two players to me that I thought, like Kobe wanted the Suns dead.
Yeah.
And the Suns hated him too. Like, and again, God rest his soul, because it's terrible that he passed away when he did.
Yeah.
But for me, when I look at what Kobe did as a Suns fan, he was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's much more like Mike than
and D'Antoni called
LeBron.
it too. D'Antoni, they were like an 8 seed, I think, when we played him, or 7 seed. And everyone's like, well, you guys should do fine. And D'Antoni was like, no, they have Kobe. And I was like, and he showed it, because he literally made us play till our heads came off, and he brutalized us before we even played the Spurs.
He was much more Jordan-like than LeBron. I mean, he just
hands down.
Some teammates didn't even like him, because he took it so seriously.
But that's the thing to me. It's like, when I look at the game today, I'm not saying they don't take it seriously, because they're excellent.
Yeah.
These guys are gifts. They are gifted, incredibly gifted people. But it's just the way that I look at the game in comparison. And this could be just because I'm getting a little older. I want to remember the good times. But man, there was something about like Jordan wanted you dead. Kobe wanted you dead.
Yeah.
Like Kobe would literally, like, him, and he would just want to go and kill you.
Yeah. No, I would have loved to have Kobe on my team. I mean, he just
hands down
killer instinct. And
do you think anybody else wins a championship with Paul Gasol? Because Paul Gasol never wins a championship without Kobe.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, look at all those years he was in Memphis doing like nothing, right?
That's one of my favorite stories of recollections, is when they were on the Olympic team and Kobe ran through him on the first play.
When they were teammates, you mean?
Yeah, they were teammates.
Yeah.
And he told everybody, the first play, I'm going to run through his pick. And everyone looked at him like, that's your teammate. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm setting the tone. And he did. And everyone was like, that's why he's different. Again, who else does that?
Yeah.
Do you think LeBron does that to Kyrie?
And it, an argument could be made, it's the Olympics. Everyone knows USA is going to win anyway. What's the big deal? But he didn't look at a basketball game like that. He could have been playing like, the YMCA team, and he would go hard.
There are people in life that do that.
Yeah.
There just are people in life that just take everything super, super serious, and they go hard. And, for all of you like me who are in the YMCA leagues or the softball leagues that are still trying to like run it out to third and blow a hamstring because you got to be all serious. Kobe was like, I get to play basketball. I'm going all in. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to play it hard the whole time.
Absolutely.
And again, he had to work, and he had similar stories. Like, he was not gifted. Jordan and him both were not that good in high school at points.
It's true.
Like, that's the other part that I think is really, that's the part that about LeBron to me that I think is so hard to even fathom. He was great, before he was a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kobe and Jordan were not great as freshmen in high school. He was great before he was a freshman. Like, he was playing in state championship games that were televised in ESPN, and he was already being heralded as a freshman in high school as the next one.
Yeah.
And for him to live the life that he lived, again, he's not lived a terrible life. He could have been a disaster. There's a lot of guys that don't live up to the hype.
Right.
You could easily argue James lived up, if not excelled.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they literally were right. I mean, they were right about him.
But again, you're 14-year-old me. I wouldn't bet on me to do what he did.
No.
Like, I mean, you give me a couple $1 million, like, life's a little easier. I mean, again, once you get some money, you're like, hey, I don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. That's the other thing that's hard for people. It's hard, I think, for normal, especially sports writers. Give a sports writer $2.5 million to cover a sport. Are they hitting the road every time with the team anymore?
No.
They're going to just cover it from afar?
Yeah.
Like, Kobe was making all that money. Jordan was making all of that money. And what were they doing? They were working their butts off.
Working
all
out.
the time.
They were in the gym.
And that's the thing that I'm like, give any of the critiques, any of the people who are criticizing any of these, and they're kids. They're kids.
Yeah.
I've worked with 20-year-olds. They're kids. I'm like, it's great. You don't really know that much, so this will be fun. You won't know a lot. You'll screw up some things, and we'll all learn. But you give a 20-year-old, 25-year-old, hey, here's a $5 million contract. $5 million. And again, when I look at sports, if you were going to say, what do you want to bless me with? Please bless me with NBA talent.
Yeah.
Because that money is great.
Yeah.
Just fantastic.
Absolutely.
So you're pretty excited about the Knicks. I am not so excited about the Suns. I've just read an article recently. They said that everyone's betting on the Suns to implode.
There's a good chance Durant asks out again.
Well, I mean, again, everyone's feeling that that's going to happen. But my biggest question to everyone is, so if we bail out and have a bad year, we don't have any draft picks either. Like, we don't have anything.
That's why they got to trade him to OKC and get some draft picks back, because OKC's got more picks than they could use.
I think OKC, I said this too. OKC has how many draft picks? They have 10? 10 first rounders?
10 or 11.
It's so they should have they should be a high school. You know, you have the JV team and the D1 team.
Yeah.
They should be allowed to have a JV team that plays with the rest of the NBA. And you just take one of the NBA teams and you just give them their uniform, because they're going to be that good.
Yeah.
If they kept all the picks and the players they have now, like, they lost that 7-footer from Gonzaga. He busted his hip.
Chet Holmgren, yeah. I think
they didn't care.
No.
They didn't care.
They didn't even
They're
flinch.
fine.
He'll probably be in the package for Durant next year.
It's crazy how
he's gonna
loaded
be a future Sun. Look at him.
They're loaded with talent, and they're also loaded with future talent.
They are.
What did I hear?
They're all young,
so they could trade anybody. They could move up in the draft.
They could if they like somebody, but
are they going to have like a 6 or they're going to have a crazy high pick this year?
Yeah, I think you're right, because
we could just do a whole thing on how the OKC GM deserves GM of the year for the next 5-10 years.
Guy's brilliant. Guy's brilliant.
Like, if you're New Orleans or Utah or any of these teams that poor teams,
to do that in a small market, to have a situation where you had Durant, Harden, and Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
You had a finals appearance. You had year after year in the playoffs, and you have Durant go be a cupcake and join the Warriors, and you had, you made a bad trade getting rid of Harden, but to fall from grace like that, they did replace him with Paul George at one point. And
Paul George, what a Philly! Oh, I didn't even go.
Man.
We haven't even talked about this. I'm so upset about the Suns, but I can tell you one thing: we're not Philly.
No, Philly, man.
When you watch, I think Embiid, to me, looks slower and older than Ewing did when he was about ready to retire.
He does, and you know what?
Who's the guy you got from Minnesota? Because
Towns.
Yes, he is so much. He's not fast, but he feels like he is like the fastest point guard ever compared to Embiid.
Oh yeah.
Embiid looks like he is running in mud.
Like if you told me Embiid was like 50 years old, I'd believe you.
Okay, I'm glad you see it too, because I've watched him and they're like, well, I may need another knee surgery. And I'm like, who is the guy, Greg Oden?
Speaking of guys who he looked 50 years old when he got drafted, though.
I thought he was Moses.
Yeah.
I thought he was like, this is the oldest human who's 20, who says he's 20. I'm like, baseball lies a lot. This is pretty wild.
Oh.
But yeah, Embiid to me just looks like he's just not. I mean, again, he's very tall.
I think it's not only that like he's injured. I think he's got chronic injuries, but I think he also like every time he gets on the court, it's so few and far between that when he finally gets on there, it's got to be like a mental thing where he just like, because he looks like he plays so like gingerly and just like it's like
he
plotting.
does look fragile. Like he doesn't like, again, when I look at guys that were just violent, he looks very like. Tim Duncan wasn't violent, but he was very methodical.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't look methodical
fundamental.
like Tim. So he doesn't look like that. And he's not violent like Amari. Like, there's different...
No.
Like, so he's not getting... Like, Amari, we all knew, like, he's so violent, he may hurt himself. Because it was just... He was jumping out of the gym.
And that playing style did catch up with him at some point.
But no one's ever said that about Embiid. No one's like, man, the way he throws it on people, the way he... But again, he's a little slower. He's a little, it's not that he's not
he came into the NBA injured, right? Like he didn't even play his first year because...
I think Anthony Davis and him are different. Anthony Davis is different because his injuries are weirder or odd, just like spasms, which I think he'll be back in Dallas, will be fine. But Philly, this year has been the biggest. Their big three didn't even play together for like what, maybe 3 or 4 games.
I think, it's very minimal.
So like, and then, Paul George doesn't care. He doesn't care.
No.
And the Clippers are trying something. By the way, thanks for the Clippers terrible new logo. But yeah, the Clippers are doing the same thing. They have the big players, but they're not going to be anything. Like we can just mold that up on a bow before the playoffs and be like, here are the teams that went and purchased 3 great players, thinking that they were going to be something.
You just can't pick 3 random all-stars, put them on a team and expect them to be good. I mean, it worked for the Heat because it involved LeBron James. All right. That's why it worked for the Heat, because he was the best player in the game. So of course, and he is a player that makes other players better around him. But like, you can't just pick even a Durant, who, for a long time was thought of as the best player in the game. You can't just pick 3 random players. I think ideally a contender, you want to have 2 superstars, like 2 perennial all-star, otherworldly, all NBA caliber players, but you have to fill the rest of your roster out with really good players that do the little things.
And this is the argument that I would make for like the teams that don't feel like they have a lot of hope. If you look at Houston, who's the superstar?
Yeah.
Who's the guy that everybody knows and they're playing good, and I know no one's scared of them in the playoffs. But it just shows you hey, we have a team working, we have a team plan, we have a team attitude about us. They're tough. They play tough defense. They get in your face.
They're breaking the mold.
They have a little hostility to them, which, again, I'm a big fan of bringing the Pistons back, that Pistons attitude. Let them hand check a little bit. Let them do some craziness.
Yep.
But I look at Houston and I go, that's really a promising thing to see a team not do any. They didn't bring in we need to bring in that one guy.
They're another team that can, though, too. That's what's crazy.
Oh yeah, they have money.
They have a move. They have picks and a.
Hey, Durant may go to Houston.
Durant
there's a lot of teams that could take the only player we're going to end up with in Phoenix is going to be Beal, because he can't be traded,
which is crazy.
I don't understand how.
In the last year of his contract, maybe he would accept a trade back to Washington to like right off into the sunset. That's another with the Wizards.
When have the Wizards ever been
Wizards? That's right. They've never been the Wizards.
They
the
tried
Hornets.
With Jordan. Do you remember when they were the Bullets? And they're
of
like,
course.
well, we can't have that name. That name's a little
too close to home.
Yeah, we can't have the bullets
in Washington of all places. You can't do that.
Not in DC. No, not at all. Like the Portland homeless or something. Again, no, can't do that.
I mean, probably the Wizards' best shot was when they actually had Jordan in his twilight.
And he was, again, that goes back to the Isaiah Thomas. That was back when they were like, you have built the team, build everybody.
Yeah.
And then they still talk to this day about who is the 7-footer that they said Jordan broke.
Kwame Brown?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
I think he played with Jordan and Kobe.
Yeah, you're right.
Is he still in therapy from both of those?
That's rough, man.
Just the absolute best and brightest ever. So, again, this is the beauty of the NBA that we have. We have excellent players that are leaving. We have young players that I think the game is
overachieving.
I think the game is an interesting place because of the contracts. That's all. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because to me, like, the fact that Tatum had won a championship with the team that he has, and like those players aren't even considered like the best of the best in the NBA.
Right.
And they smoked everyone last year. And that's like the state of the NBA. Like, we're talking about the Luka trade. Like, the Luka James trade is adorable. It's adorable. They're not making the finals.
No.
They're not. I mean, everyone's going to cover it like it's great. Like, are you looking forward to the Knicks-Boston round 2? Aren't you guys playing Boston this year in the finals? You should be.
We should be, but Cleveland's really good this year.
Yes. So, again, it will be an interesting playoff. I think the NBA is in a good spot, but again, if you had Cleveland play, Cleveland play Houston, that would be pretty tragic. That would be
That would be probably the NBA's worst nightmare, but
Adam Silver's over
or
there
Memphis versus Cleveland or something like that.
Now we know why Adam Silver's not eating so much, because he's worried about these things.
At the same time, he's really busy coming up with weird tournament formats for the All-Star game. And
I'm proud to say the Suns didn't win an in-season tournament banner. That would be embarrassing if that's the first banner we have to hang.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Would you even hang it if you're a Knicks fan? I guess you'd have to.
I mean, easy for me to say. I'm in the moment. I might be like, this is kind of cool. I was excited about St. John's winning the NIT in 2000 or so.
So when you get it, you get it.
We got 65th place. Yeah.
Which still isn't true, because they're much better than that. Yeah. I always looked at that as like we should have been in the tournament. But
it's true. It probably means we shouldn't have been on the bubble, but
that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So this is our Batter Sports NBA podcast as we get going, and we wanted to introduce ourselves to you. Obviously, the NBA has just finished up a wonderful All-Star weekend, and as we get ready for the
second lowest
season,
rating of all time.
So you didn't miss that. You didn't miss anything. But as we get ready for the real season, which we all know is the playoffs, which is in about 4 to 5 months. Just kidding. It's not that long. But the real season will be great. So we'll be coming with you with new episodes every week. We look forward to it. Look forward to sharing with you our knowledge and our heartbreak as two fans who deserve more than what we've gotten.
Amen. I couldn't say it better myself.